craziest thing just happened. I've just bought this from eBay for £11. This is why we have the ridiculous name that we have now, Mapdec Cycle Works. It all started here. So this is, I think, about 2012. And back then I started selling this little product that I completely designed myself, got made, and we sold out about 2015. I think we sold our last one. And the fact this came up on eBay in original packaging, it was £11, and I think I sold them for £35 or £40 at the time. This is quite a bit of nostalgia, so I'm going to open it and show you guys where we started. I don't know whether you're interested or not, but let's get in. So the idea was, this is a map board for mountain bike orienteering, adventure racing, and that sort of thing. And actually, before I sort of get into this, I'll show you why. Now, this is a Myri map board, which is what all the mountain bike orienteers, adventure racers were using at the time. And this was from a Czech Republic, I think it was. And it was quite a bulky thing. And they're about 75, 80 quid to import by the time you paid all the import duties and shipping and stuff. And the idea is you have that on your handlebars and you have a map on here and you rotate it. So as you're riding, you can always orientate the map to your direction. And so as I got better at adventure racing, we invested in stuff like this. But then I guess when I got into sort of my retirement years, I noticed that sort of the grassroots of the sports, they were still using bits of old estate agent signs and bits of plastic and drill through and zip ties and stuff. So the Mapdec was really about trying to make something like the Myri, but significantly cheaper so that people could really get into and enjoy the sport. So we made it so it'd fit into this Royal Mail large letter size, which is like a really big design feature, if you like. And you're going to laugh at this because it's like the world's simplest thing, but the story behind it, I think, is quite fascinating. It sort of came about when, oh my God, it's actually still got the original receipt inside it. That's hilarious. So this is quite cool. So if you can see this, so we had this all laid out. This is actually a little bit of a later model than I thought it was actually. So this is quite cool. Yeah, so we had the instructions are all printed here on the inside of the box like this, and tips about how to use it and everything else. I should probably show you what a real one looked like built up. I've got one, hang on. So this is the Mapdec built up, and it's this surprisingly simple thing really. Is we had this bar clamp made. I'll show you that in a second, and then the rotating map board was just made out of like polycarbonate and polypropylene, sorry, so it's really, really robust and flexible. Just if you really hit it or you came off your bike, it wouldn't snap. And it just rotated like this, but rather than having the plastic cover, we just used sort of bungee straps. And I'm actually wondering if inside this box, we've actually got the original bungee straps rather than the sort of the make, do and mend rubber bands on this one. So the idea was that you could mount it on one side of your stem and you could free up the other side of your stem to still have your bike light and your Garmin's and stuff, because when you were using this, you didn't have as much handlebar room for all your bike lights, and on a lot of big adventure races, multi-day stuff, you needed lots of handlebar real estate. So yeah, that's what it looks like. Let's show you what a brand new one looked like. So my front room was full of this. The front room was literally just stacks full of bits of plastic and stuff like that, and we would all these boxes, and when an order came in I would unpack it and send it out to the customer and put a Royal Mail label on it. So this is what we called the top plate, and actually these we got machined in the UK. This is a piece of ABS plastic. We actually got a CNC machiner to make these in the UK. The original version was more like the picture on the front here. It was really, really simple, just rounded corners and 2 holes drilled. The design got a little bit more refined around 2012. I think we started doing this in 2011. This is about one of the only parts we could actually get made in the UK. There's really manufacturing story behind here, where it was just so hard to get things made. So this little box I had designed and made up. One of the things that I did when I was unemployed was I took a course in graphic design and learned how to do this, and it was brilliant actually. So this hasn't quite done the test of time. Oh yes, look at this. So this this is the original logo, Mapdec Navigate and Ride. Designed all that myself on my graphic design course. That was pretty cool. Oh, actually, this is actually quite a late design. This is quite a good one. So we had a little box, a little bag of nuts and bolts, and I had big tubs of these, and I would literally by hand go through and pick them out and put them into a little plastic bag, so all the bolts and stuff were in there. And these are the elastic bands. So on the last few, we didn't actually get these made because you had to get these made in the thousands, and we did sell thousands of these. We probably sold, I think we sold about 15,000, I want to say, something along those lines. There was a few warranties and repairs that might have dipped into that, but it was around, I definitely remember ordering that many, and we've sold all of them apart from a few bits that broke, and we sent out spares and repairs and stuff, so it must be close to that. But these were made in the UK. These were actually made by some sort of party supply company, I think, and it was like suede joint, and then we got some heat shrink over the top to just tidy them up. But so these would just wrap around here and hold your map down. The nice thing about this is with cold hands and gloves on, you could still sort of grip them and move your map around, whereas the elastic bands, when they were wet with like mud and stuff, they were quite hard to get hold of. But these bungee cords, they worked really, really well. That's so cool that they're still in there. So yeah, you got two bungee cords, and this is the mount, and this is actually the sort of the fascinating bit, if you like, because this is the bit that really stumped me. So when I made the original design, I actually sort of made it out of bits of balsa wood and sort of machined out plastic just to sort of test the concept and the sizes, and I really struggled to get anywhere with a UK factory with this. Just nobody would speak to me. I was just a small guy just wanting to order a few thousand of these, and literally no one in the UK would even respond to emails or phone calls or anything, you know, even though you'd sent them plans. Eventually I got in contact with a local product designer called Chris, and he put this all up into proper design software and gave me proper designs for it, and that kind of got me somewhere with a couple of UK factories. But really we went out to China, and it blew my mind actually, because of all the troubles that we had trying to get something like this made in the UK. Just one email out to China, and I had dozens of emails back within 24 hours of Chinese factories giving me quotes and estimates and how they were going to make it, and all sorts really. So it was incredible just how that whole Chinese factory really worked. And so these parts are actually like made out of an ABS plastic and injection molded with two little brass inserts. And yeah, the factory I worked with was fantastic actually. They made a big sort of steel mold with loads of springs and injection points and all this sort of stuff, and they kept in touch the whole way. They were always sending me updates. This is how your mold's looking now, is this how you want it to look, and refining it. And then the time came to put my money where my mouth is and press the go button, and we got, I think the first order was for like 5,000 of these, and yeah, it was scary. I paid for 5,000. I think they were about £1.70 or something each. 5,000 of them arrived. So you can imagine that the front room was just full of boxes and stuff. And I was like, going, oh my God, what have I done? So yeah, that was an amazing little story. And then obviously the top plate, while that was all being made, we sort of found someone in the UK that would CNC machine these. And then this is what we called the deck. And again, this was actually fairly easy to make. There's loads of people that would just do cut polypropylene squares like this for you. And we could actually order these in quite small quantities, which was handy because by that time there's 5,500 of these, and we could kind of keep a stock of my cash flow a bit better by just ordering bits and pieces like this in relatively small quantities. We had some stickers made up. The first generation of these is actually using like a Fomex board. Actually found out a bit brittle, so we ended up having to send out replacements to the first early adopters. And then the later ones, we actually found someone that would laser etch our logo. I actually preferred these white stickers in hindsight, but the laser etching sort of like sold me on it. So yeah, amazing. And then there's these little bolts here. So as we designed further, we went out to someone with a CNC machining business who had finally sort of talked to us. As a friend of my dad's, actually, through a sort of model engineering club. He put me in touch with someone who could custom make these bolts. And this is something that customers were actually just asking for the whole time, because before these, we had a standard M5 hex bolt at the bottom, which actually worked pretty well, but everyone was asking for these thumb screws so they could put it on and off really easily. And actually, when you're adventure racing, you can't always leave your map board on, because your bike gets put up into a box and then transported to the next transition. So being able to take things on and off your bike was actually quite important. We sort of had some success with these. We never got them hardened or anodized because of cost, really. But for the few people out there that over tightened them, they sort of broke. But generally speaking, and we had sort of very few returns considering, but there were definitely a few that broke along the way, and we tried to send replacements out. But yeah, there we go. That's where it all started. It's amazing that this has actually come back to us. Like, I think this is actually probably a bit later now. I haven't seen it. I think this is more like a 2013 model. We probably stopped developing it in 2013, sold through the Romanian stock through 2014. 2015, what we're doing now started to evolve. We got a premises, we started doing more bike maintenance, and the turbo training studio, and we probably had a couple of hundred left of map boards at the time, and they just sold out, and I never really picked it up again. But from this little humble beginning, I built a website from it, we branded it, we logoed it, and then we started doing emergency survival shelters. We sold loads to like Glenmore Lodge and Classie Brennan, and mountain bike leaders, because they were an amazing piece of fabric that we found. Super lightweight. Imagine like a 4-person survival shelter was like, tiny. That had some success. It's something that we got a local sail maker to do during the winter. And then we started doing loads and loads of bike lights. So some of our customers might even remember, actually, we started importing about a dozen different models of bike lights. And we were really successful with that for quite a long time. We sold tens of thousands of bike lights through eBay and Amazon and all sorts. And then it was a real insight into how Amazon and FBA and all that sort of stuff works, and warehousing and Chinese factories. And we definitely had some quality issues. It was definitely one of those where the first batches were fantastic, and as time went on, we started to recognize more and more faults with things, and then the Chinese factory would become very anonymous, not always returning calls, or your deliveries would be delayed and that sort of thing, or there'd be a batch full of, most of them were absolutely perfect, but there'd be like 5 or 6 which weren't. And I don't know, I came out of that game anyway. We're doing something different now. What we're doing now is way more exciting, but I'm really glad I had that glimpse into how that e-commerce, Amazon, eBay sort of selling all kind of worked, and it all sprung out of this crazy piece of plastic that literally dominated the front room of the house for a couple of years. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. And this comes quite a timely moment as well, actually, because we're sort of moving on from the Mapdec name a little bit. And if you keep following our Facebook page and all our socials, you'll see that we're rebranding the fitness side of our business to a company called Strength to Speed, a new YouTube channel. So you guys that like our bike related content can follow that. And if you really like our fitness related content, you can follow that. The fitness related content is going to be building on that self-coach cyclist podcast idea, and just sharing our knowledge of what we do here. We're working with lots of different athletes from various different backgrounds. And yeah, just keep following. Let me know, did you like this sort of content? I've definitely enjoyed a little trip down memory lane, in case you hadn't noticed. And thanks for coming along on the journey with me. All right, back to normal pretty soon, I promise. Thanks for listening.